Every film that we've ever made has been about people that struggle, people who fight back.
Injustice is a film about deaths in police custody and efforts by the group United Families and Friends to right what they say are terrible wrongs.
It's not about people who can't give up because they feel that they didn't get justice that they want, but it's about people who can't give up because they got no justice whatsoever.
One of the cases highlighted in the film is that of Brian Douglas. He was returning home with a friend after an evening out when he was stopped by two police officers. He received a blow to the head from a police baton.
They were then taken to Kennington Police Station, where he was held for 15 hours. Despite the fact that he was seen by a police surgeon 3 times, he was declared unfit for interview and drunk. By the time the 15th hour came around, Brian had suffered paralysis to one side of his face, and he was taken to St Thomas's Hospital, where he was diagnosed as having a fractured skull. He then died in St Thomas's Hospital of a brainstem injury some 3 days later, and we were left with the aftermath of a death in custody.
A police inquiry returned a verdict of misadventure, lawful killing. Brenda Weinberg called in independent legal advice.
We were obviously very distressed at this verdict because we did a parallel investigation to that of the Police Complaints Authority. The results of our investigation we submitted to 2 senior QCs, equivalent to those that work at the Crown Prosecution Service, who they themselves deemed that there was sufficient evidence for at least a manslaughter verdict, or a manslaughter prosecution. This was ignored.
In fact, all subsequent efforts to get a public prosecution against the officers involved has come to nothing. Not surprisingly, the film has upset some members of the police force. Officers named in the film, and in some cases accused of murder, have called in a firm of lawyers. They've issued letters to a number of cinemas planning to show the film, warning that any screening could result in very substantial libel damages. A number of cinema owners have bowed to the pressure and pulled the film. The Metropolitan Police Federation, which looks after the interests of police officers, blames the makers of Injustice, saying they should have made more of an effort to speak to the officers.
If the makers of the film had approached the officers, if there was prior knowledge, all of this could have been avoided. The film may well have gone out and been shown at all the venues without us having to take the action that we had. At the end of the day, our members are entitled to protection under the law, and that's all that they have sought, in the same way that the families seek to use the legal process to get answers to their questions.
The makers of Injustice refute charges they did not approach the police force, and along with United Families and Friends have picketed the solicitors. Among the protesters, Myrna Simpson, whose daughter Joy Gardner died in a struggle with police and immigration officials during a raid on her house. Police officers used restraining equipment and wrapped over 3 meters of tape around her mouth.
Nobody has been charged for her death. Not even an inquest was had for her death. And I've never heard of somebody dying in this country without an inquest. And my daughter was buried without an inquest into her death. And I'm just here in solidarity that, you know, we don't want any more deaths in custody.
The filmmakers claim there have been over 1,000 deaths in police custody in Britain since 1969. There have been no convictions for manslaughter or murder in connection with those deaths. The fact that many of those who die are black, and that the recent government-ordered Macpherson report found the police force to be institutionally racist, just adds to the anger of the families. The Metropolitan Police Federation says it understands the relatives feel a great sense of loss, but says it stands by the system of police inquiries, and says the number of people who die in violent circumstances in custody is small.
The cause of death in most circumstances is either natural causes or because they are suffering from some medical condition exacerbated by drink or drug abuse, or both. And very, very few are in circumstances where force is being applied. It's a fact of life that people die. Just the same way people are born in police custody as well, and that happens. You know, that is one of the certainties. Only two certainties in life are death and taxes.
Recent weeks have seen more screenings cancelled, but also several that have gone ahead, including this one, shown as part of a Black Film Festival in London. Family members were present, as they are at most screenings, to press the cause.
The Uganda Police Complaint Authority signed a document and said they are satisfied with such investigation. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a farce.
In fact, the filmmakers say police lawyers seem to have changed tack. The letters to the cinemas have dried up. Now it's the makers themselves who are receiving letters threatening a possible injunction unless they agree to re-edit. But all those involved say the film stands and the fight goes on.
We are prepared to go to court and stand in court and defend the film. And the families want that as well. So what would happen if we went to court, if they took us to court for libel? Those police officers would have to stand in court, and we and the families would get the opportunity to question those police officers in court, which is exactly what we want.
I'm confident in myself and us as an organisation that we won't go away and we will continue to seek justice. To say that we will get justice, I don't know. I really can't say fairer than that.
Andrew Carey, CNN London, for Inside Europe.